Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers defeat the Detroit Red Wings 4-1 at Madison Square Garden. And this was a big game for the Red Wings. They are right in the thick of the Eastern Conference playoff race for the wild card, that last spot for them. I mean, the Ottawa Senators are in it as well. From an Atlantic perspective, there's a bunch of Metro teams involved. For them, they have the #3 Metropolitan spot available, plus that #2 wildcard spot. And the Rangers were just flat out better in this game. What may have helped motivation-wise is Jonathan Quick returns. He had been out the last 2.5 weeks or so. I think he was out about 7 or 8 games, his last one being a game he lost against the Devils at Madison Square Garden. And Jonathan Quick, in what may have been one of his very last outings in the National Hockey League, we don't know. Like, there's a decent chance he retires. He hasn't made that public yet, and I think, if nothing else, this might have been his last Madison Square Garden start. So, almost getting a shutout as well. About 30 seconds away from getting that, but David Perron scores to spoil it with 33 seconds to go. But, another big story out of this game is Gabe Perreault getting a hat trick, his first NHL hat trick. Now, one of them was an internet goal, but they still count all the same. So he gets goals 8, 9, and 10. He actually hadn't scored in about 11 or 12 games. So he'd been, in a bit of a goal drought himself, but I don't think the play had necessarily dropped off in a big way. Wasn't as red hot as he had been. But that line is one to, be somewhat excited about next year if they do stick with it. Zibanejad with Lafreniere and Perreault. And as well, Jaroslav Chmelar scores. He's been really, really effective since he has, was recalled. And Adam Sakura, one of his good buddies and another Ranger draft pick, he gets his first assist on that Chmelar goal. So Rangers are the better team in this game. And, for the Red Wings, this is not a team that I look at and think will make the playoffs. Now, they're getting help. A lot of these Eastern Conference teams lately have really struggled quite a bit. And so Detroit's still very much in it. I think the remaining schedule may not be overly difficult, but in watching them, I feel pretty strongly that they will not get in. And so the interesting thing there is, with this result, with the Rangers winning in regulation against against the Red Wings, that clinched a playoff spot for the Lightning and the Sabres. So the Buffalo Sabres playoff drought is officially over. They had the longest one, I think, at 14 seasons. And now the ironic thing is that the Red Wings, they may well now have the longest drought. If they don't make it this year, it'll go to 10 seasons. Now, again, they're still right in it. Hope isn't lost for them, but based on what I saw today, and just kind of in general, they've really not been playing all that well for a while now. I think that they will take that spot previously held by the Sabres. The last year they made it was 2016. And, they've come close last year. The year before that, I mean, remember, it was very close between whether the Rangers were going to face the Caps and the Red Wings. I remember that. And I remember I was hoping to actually face the Red Wings, even though it ended up being a sweep for the Rangers against the Caps in 2024. But, I feel like Steve Yzerman hasn't necessarily done enough in terms of, trying to make the team better. But, all to say that the Rangers really were clearly the superior team in this game. Don't let the shot count fool you in the third. That's a little bit score dependent. Like, the Red Wings end up outshooting the Rangers 18-7 in the third. So the shots were 32-20 Detroit. That's very misleading. I thought the Rangers really were simply the better team. It wasn't as if it was like complete, utter destruction by the Rangers, but in watching that game, they seemed to control the whole way through. The Red Wings really could have used a power play goal somewhere along the line. They go 0 for 4. That was, to me, if Detroit was going to find a way in this game, that was what needed to happen. And that power play had actually been very recently hot, but they got off to the season in a tremendous shape and then really struggled power play wise. And they're not a very good 5-on-5 team in terms of goal production. Just not. Their center, there's not a whole lot of creativity and skill down the middle. And I don't know. You can see there's pieces there. I mean, they could easily be a team that, is in contention for the playoffs in the coming years. But with where they were at one point in the year, it is a disappointment if they do miss it. Um, and to me, it's headed that way. But yeah, Rangers now have won 4 of the last 5. That losing streak of 1 goes away quickly, right? Because I was saying how things can tended to kind of be very streaky with the winning a bunch, losing a bunch, and was kind of hoping that the Montreal loss could kind of set them up for more losses headed, their way. And I don't know if that's going to happen. This was the first of a back to back. The Rangers have really much struggled in the second of back to back. So it'll be interesting to see Rangers Capitals at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. Now, in all likelihood, you get Shesterkin back in net. Don't love that, really. And the Capitals are not very good on the road at all. They'll as well be playing tonight against the Sabres in Washington. A really big game for them as they have found themselves in consideration. Now, they're coming off a loss to the Devils, but in all likelihood, especially if they beat the Sabres, even if they don't, they should be very motivated. But even still, I don't know that, the Rangers are necessarily going to lose to the Capitals. I think that we can take a lot of good things out of this game, and so it doesn't sting as much for me. But I really would like the Rangers to lose to the Capitals in regulation tomorrow. We're at a point now where the Blackhawks kind of feel a little bit out of reach. It's really getting there to the point where the Blackhawks versus the Seattle Kraken tonight, you have to kind of wonder what's better. Seattle's been struggling a lot lately. I think the ideal situation would be a 3-point game where the Blackhawks get 2 points and the Kraken get 1. I'm still kind of holding out hope, but I really think it's becoming unlikely. I think Chicago is becoming less of a thing, and Calgary's still there, but there's other teams that are kind of fading, like Seattle, that you have to worry about. So that's where the Rangers, they can't be reeling off wins crazy here. And quite frankly, there are wins to be had in these last 5 games. There just are. I can make a case for just about all of them. That's why I was hoping for this one, where it was clear cut that Detroit needed the game and the Rangers won it. I wasn't, I knew that Detroit was not like a juggernaut at all, but I was still hoping that the need for the game would kind of win out for the Red Wings. But again, I think that Jonathan Quick being in net absolutely was an extra motivating factor for the Rangers. The team probably knows more than the rest of us. And I think that they know, if nothing else, at the very least, that there's a decent chance that his career is winding down and that this may have been either his last start altogether, or at the very least his last one at Madison Square Garden. So, and the other interesting thing too is, if you remember, Jonathan Quick had an amazing performance way back earlier in the year against Detroit on November 16th, the last time they played Detroit, in a 2-1 Red Wing win where he got upset at the end of the game where I forget who it was that took a shot at the empty net. And Quick just kind of freaked out and just started shoving Detroit players. It really led to kind of everyone kind of clearing the benches after the game was over. And so I think for Jonathan Quick, I don't think that's much of a factor here, but it's something that came to my mind, where he was kind of just taking everyone on. I think he was kind of upset maybe with the Rangers that they, I don't know. It's one of those sort of old codes, hockey code where, Quick felt like even though the game was over, they shouldn't have, shot it into the empty net. A little bit, the whole thing was a little bit bizarre, but, he did everything he could to, the Rangers got dominated in that game. Here we are months later, circumstances very different, and the Rangers win. So the lineup was exactly the same as it was last game. It's been pretty consistent. The Rangers have been pretty healthy. And so the only change was Jonathan Quick in. And so now Dylan Garand was a healthy scratch. So that's the interesting thing here. I don't know that we see Dylan Garand again, which is unfortunate. You have 5 games left. I'm almost 100% positive the plan is for Shesterkin tomorrow night against the Capitals. The remaining 4, I don't know, but I gotta think that Igor is gonna get at bare minimum 2 of those 4, and most likely 3 of those 4. I don't think he plays all of them. And the question then becomes, does Quick get one more start or does Garand get one more start? I think that's kind of what I'm wondering. I wouldn't agree. I mean, I hope that Igor doesn't get the rest of the way. Whether it be for Quick's career ending or for Dylan Garand to get another look, it should not be the rest of the way Shesterkin, but I think we will see him tomorrow night. Again, same lineup. So again, no Taylor Radish, no Adam Edstrom, no Urho Vakanainen, no Vincent Iorio. Those are your scratches. And Rangers were just, looking solid at the start. And not a whole lot of chances either way. John Gibson was in that for the Detroit Red Wings. And former Ranger Andrew Kopp takes a tripping penalty, tripping Alexi Lafreniere at 354. Rangers don't score on that power play, but later on, the Rangers do convert an even strength goal at 13:19. Jaroslav Chmelar scores his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Gavrikov and Sikora. So this is a nice job of the fourth line, centered by Noah Laba. Sikora is able to kind of get into the forecheck. There's a corner battle, which Sikora wins, finds Gavrikov up top. Gavrikov takes a sort of half slap shot, half pass in the direction of Chmelar, who tips it in. Rangers have scored a lot of goals that way. I think on the broadcast they said the Rangers have the most goals in that way with these deflections in front. And again, Chmelar, like, he is pushing for a spot on the roster next year. There's no question. And so that goal gives the Rangers a 1-0 lead. And the fourth line in this one got more ice time than last game, quite significantly, which was good to see. They really, really did. 12 minutes for Chmelar, 11 and change for Sikora, for Laba. Again, 15 plus, obviously. Again, with him, there's some special teams reasons for that. And so it took some time away from, more of the top lines, but it was good. They were really rolling 4 lines. And, the one guy that really, you look at it, didn't play much, Drew Fortescue, played, a little more than 11 minutes. It was a lot of Gavrikov, 26 minutes for him on 29 shifts. But, yeah, Rangers take that 1-0 lead there. Then at 15:13, JT Miller interferes with JT Compher. Little JT on JT action. And the Red Wings weren't able to take advantage of the power play opportunity that they got. It was, not even, they weren't even setting up. Like, the first couple of Red Wings power plays was really just nothing at all. Rangers were very aggressive, and the Red Wings really didn't have any opportunity. Jonathan Quick wasn't tested much. The best save he made, maybe on the night, was, or not the night, the afternoon, was on David Perron. It was a setup by Lucas Raymond, and Quick, going from right to left, makes a really nice pad save on Perron. Who knows, right? And maybe if that goes in, maybe things are different. It's 1-0 Rangers going to the second. The Rangers, I think they showed on the telecast, which is crazy, that they were 19-1-1 when leading after one period. So now they're 21-1. That's ridiculous. So clearly the Rangers, when leading, play, a lot better. They don't lead much. They're usually trailing, but when they do have the lead, they have done a nice job this year, clearly. So we go to the second period, and I thought the Rangers were just continuing to control play in this game. And really, the Red Wings were kind of just hanging on for a while, and it was a matter of time before the Rangers, were to extend the lead. Shot totals in the first and second period weren't much. Detroit outshot the Rangers 8-6 in the first. Rangers outshot Detroit 7-6 in the second. But at 15:59, Gabe Perreault scores his 8th goal of the season, first of the game, from Zibanejad and Robertson. And this is a really nice shift from the Zibanejad line, where Zibanejad passes it back to Matthew Robertson. He pinches in, finds Zibanejad behind the net, and Gabe Perreault is just parked in front and scores past Gibson, as there was action from Lafreniere and Robertson right in front. So, easy goal for Gabe Perreault, gives the Rangers a 2-0 lead there. and that would be the score going to the third. I should also mention that before the Perreault goal, there was a Drew Fortescue slashing penalty of Lucas Raymond at 13:04. So Detroit gets nothing off of that, and then the Rangers gain momentum. So that was really the big point in the game here, where it's 1-0 for a while. The next goal's critical. Detroit had an opportunity with the man advantage, don't get it, and then the Rangers score. And so they take that 2-0 lead going to the third. And at that point, I had a hard time believing that the Rangers weren't going to hold on. Um, and at 5:44, the Rangers go on the power play. Ben Sherratt high six Will Cooley, and then they actually get into a fight after the whistle. Cooley and Sherratt drop the gloves, both get some punches in, and the Rangers have a power play. And it's the second unit that scores, and it's Gabe Perreault. His second goal of the game, ninth goal of the season from Brodzinski and Adam Fox. So Johnny Brodzinski's been playing pretty well lately. I'm curious to see what Brodzinski, with him being an upcoming unrestricted free agent, whether he'll be back next season. He's been with the organization for a while now, and I'm just wondering if he will be brought back. I think there's a decent chance that he could be, but we'll see. And the second unit was coming on for the Rangers, and it's a nice give and go by Perreault and Brodzinski's. Perreault to Brodzinski, back to Perreault, and he's able to easily put it in past Gibson. And Adam Fox, he extends his point streak to, I believe, 6 games. So he's been racking up a lot of points lately. And so the Rangers take that 3-0 lead there. And then a couple more power play opportunities from Detroit. At this point, they really, it was a bit of a long shot, but at 8:19, Connor Sherry, high six, Albert Johansson, Red Wings don't score. At 14:15, Noah Laba, high six, James Van Riemsdyk. Yet again, not much on that one. On that last Laba penalty, the Red Wings had pulled the goalie, so it was a 6-on-5 for them. And the Rangers, are able to go 4 for 4 success rate wise on the penalty kill against Detroit. And soon thereafter, while it's a 6-on-5, at 18:16 of the third, Gabe Perreault gets the empty net goal. It's a natural hat trick, and his first NHL hat trick, his 10th goal of the season from JT Miller and Fox. You could tell they were trying to set that up, that Perreault was going to be the one to get the opportunity with the empty net. And on a 2-on-1, Miller passes it to Perreault, and he's able to put it in. And a lot of hats were thrown on the ice at Madison Square Garden, and so good for Gabe Perreault in what is, again, his first career NHL hat trick. So now the only thing left to kind of do was secure the shutout for Jonathan Quick, which they were unable to do so. At 19:27, David Perron scores his 11th goal of the season from Finney and Van Riemsdyk, and you could tell, they really wanted to get that shutout for Quick. And it's a puck that goes through Brodzinski and Borgen in front. Finney wraps it around, and it goes through the legs of Brodzinski and Borgen, and Perron just buries it. So in what may have been, again, Jonathan Quick's last Madison Square Garden outing, or just his last NHL career start, he is unable to get the shutout, but he does get the win. Rangers win by a final score of 4-1, playing a little bit of spoiler against the Detroit Red Wings. So 5 games to go on the season. And now the Rangers will be in a little bit of a similar spot against the Washington Capitals tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. Rangers have not been good at all in the second game of back-to-backs this year. But we'll see what Washington, they play the Buffalo Sabres tonight. So if they win that game, they really are right in the thick of the race. If they lose, could they be a little bit deterred? Maybe, but you should still see a pretty desperate Capital team that does have, unfortunately for me, one of the Rangers to lose, very drastic splits at home and away. Not very good on the road for the Washington Capitals, and expect to see Igor Shesterkin back in net for that one. So, the season is winding down here. This was game 5 of a final 7-game homestand for the Rangers. They've won 4 of the last 5. And it is Gabe Perreault getting his first NHL hat trick, and Jonathan Quick, as his career is coming to a close, he gets the win against the Detroit Red Wings. Rangers win by a final score of 4-1 in the first of a back-to-back. Second of a back-to-back, staying at Madison Square Garden, will be tomorrow night against the Washington Capitals.